The Flash, 770. Jeremy Adams writing with Kevin Maguire, Jackson Herbert, and Brandon Pearson on art. Did you read this?
I did. I tell you now, it'll be the last issue I do read because I thought it was thoroughly mundane.
I thought it was alright. I had fun with the last issue. I had a decent amount of fun with this one. I thought there was some nice moments. Obviously, too many artists is a definite complaint. I thought the art was good at the start. Like, I actually kind of liked the deep shadows and the early J stuff.
I really don't like their faces in that first couple of pages.
But the faces I didn't like. Barry Allen, when it cut back to like the trio in present day, Barry Allen in some panels like had this really round, childish looking face at times. It was really all over the place. I'll be honest,
I don't think I really like much of the art in this issue. Which is, it's something like, oh, it's just that there's different artists, which is never good, but I don't particularly love any of it.
No, I like the first art, the first batch of pages, which is Jay getting this mission from the president to go with the Ray to try and steal the Spear of Destiny. I'm actually curious to see what Matt thinks of this issue, because it's very Indiana Jones, Jay Garrick, in a lot of ways.
Is Matt reading this book? Because I know he didn't read the last issue.
I don't know if he's reading, but he might catch up. I don't know.
That would be a very Matt thing to do, wouldn't it?
But no, I was into the art in the first batch of pages. So we actually get a little bit of Jay here before Wally shows up. This makes it. Again, I liked how this shook up the formula, because it wasn't just okay, we're starting where we left off when Wally jumped in Jay's body at the end of the last issue.
It's like half the issue before Wally shows up.
Yeah, which is good, I think. I like all the context and the fact that there's a story ongoing when Wally interrupts everything and it becomes this thing. I also loved it in present day. Barry calls Jay and says, "Hey, do you remember this mission from the 40s? Can you tell me about it? Like, what's going on?" And part of it is obviously going after an artifact like Spear of Destiny is very Indiana Jones. But what really made me feel Indiana Jones, other than the fact that there's also Nazis, is the guy who actually gets there first and has the spear, has the hat on. He reminds me a lot of the villain from the first, from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I can see it.
I was getting vibes of that guy. So because he has it, he's able to disable their powers, and he takes them both prisoner. And Hitler's in this book. Hitler gets the spear, and he's all ready to do his thing.
He's the Ubermensch.
He's there, which was the end of the last issue. That was the tease, that moment. So there's a lot of stuff here where Wally's now in Jay's body, is talking to them in present day, and Ray's like, "Who are you talking to? Why is he crazy?" Because what part of the thing before this is that Ray's like atheist, and he kept saying that he didn't believe in a god because Jay prayed a couple of times or whatever, and he basically, when Jay was dying as they were being held prisoner, he said, "Okay, you know what, God, fine. Like, please, if you're going to pull off a miracle, do it now." And then that's when he gets hit by the lightning and Wally is in his body. But then he's very confused as to why, from his perspective, Jay is acting so weird and seems to be talking to other people and saying things like, "Google it. Like, Google the layout of this ship so you can get me a way out," and things of that nature.
Yeah, and he's literally going, "It's in the past. I'm sure you can find it."
Yeah. He's got a point. I think that's fair. So it's got them dressing up. We get punching of Hitler, which is actually Jay. Basically, he stops their conscious minds, but technically that only disables Wally. So Jay gets back in control and is able to punch Hitler. It's kind of the big moment. I actually thought this was a nice little Golden Age style story with the Wally spin on it. I like that it felt different from the last issue. And I think, again, my bigger complaints with this arc was really right at the start, when it was, having to lead in heavily into the why is Wally wanting to retire and, the Heroes in Crisis stuff. Once it got going, don't get me wrong, it's far from the best of what DC's putting out right now. But this is a fairly enjoyable sort of romp of a story with various Flash history and playing with things. I mean, obviously the final page, when Wally jumps again to whoever speedster he's going to next. Not only is he jumping to Thawne in Reverse Flash, but he's jumping to a very classic looking Legion of Superheroes art style. And I kind of popped because because I liked the end of the last issue when it was like, oh, he's going to be Jay next and it's going to be in the 40s. Like, oh, that's a really cool idea. So far, I think they've done a good job of ordering what these different speedsters and places are. Because I think the least interesting one was the first one, at least at face value. Obviously I did enjoy the story once it actually played out, but at face value, it was the one that was like, oh, okay, Flash goes to the future, and there's a bunch of like sci-fi stuff going on. I feel like we've seen that more than anything when it comes to Flash.
Yeah.
But then you go to Jay in the 40s, and then you go into this Silver Age looking Legion of Doom at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, you know what? This is progressing where each new era that he's going to, each new sort of scenario is almost more interesting than the last, or at least, if not more interesting, the J Golden Age stuff. It's at least different enough that I don't feel like we're retreading ground, and it's interesting on its own right that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm game for this. I'm game for an issue with him pretending to be evil and the comedy that might come out of that whilst trying to solve whatever the Speed Force problem is in this era. So, yeah, I had fun. The art is definitely all over the place. I definitely don't like the modern trio art with them.
No, and I have some real pacing problem with the modern stuff as well in terms of the breakdowns of the art. There's a bit where it cuts back to them, and Ollie goes, who has the spear now? And then Barry goes, Wally, who has the spear? And I know there should be a pause in there, but where Wally's not answering because he doesn't want to say it, and it's like, Wally, who has the spear? And that's when he goes, Hitler has the spear. But the way it's kind of paced on the page, they both just ask the question right after each other. There's no pause, there's no break, there's nothing to give me any reason why they should just ask it.
That's a fair critique. That said, though, when he did have to say Hitler, I still laughed a little bit. Because it's the worst possible answer. It is the worst possible answer he could give.
It is. And I think that's why it annoys me more, because I can see that joke. I can see it being paced really well and it being funny. But the way it was, I was just like, I think it was told quite badly. And I don't know. I'm assuming that's presumably an art problem, not breaking it down into enough panels. Unless the script explicitly said it was on these panels, and give a panel layout. I don't know how the relationship's working from that side of things. But either way, I felt it kind of ruined the pacing of that entire joke for me, and it could have fell flat, unfortunately.
One thing I will also say I like about this is I'm liking more and more Wally's voice in the narration, particularly. When I was reading his narration early on, it was definitely reminding me of like classic Wally as the Flash narration. I was feeling that voice coming through again. I felt like I was reading Johnsy's Flash, or I was reading whatever. It kind of felt of that in tone, and I appreciate that. It's not that it's doing a knockout story by any means, or it's doing the next big epic that's going to be remembered fondly. But if this is the solid 7 or thereabouts out of 10 Flash book that we've got for a while, I'm not that mad, really. I mean, they can't all be the home runs that many of the other books are right now. That's okay.
No,
I think because of all the baggage coming into this series, and because the Future State stuff was so bad, like, I think I was expecting a train wreck, and instead I got, oh, this is actually decent fun. It's just, there are critiques. There's things to complain. The art's the biggest thing, and there's too many artists for a start. But
yeah, I think I don't need it to be a knockout run. Like I say, if I did feel like this was a 7 out of 10 book, I'd be fine with that. The problem is I'm not feeling that. Like, a lot of that is the art that I'm really not enjoying. I think pacing of the issues from Brian's side of things isn't great. There's just enough things adding up that I'm like, this is kind of really mundane, and kind of just I feel like I'm just going through the motions each time I'm reading an issue rather than enjoying a story.
I haven't so far, and I will say that I keep thinking I'm going to feel that way. Like, I've kind of put this off almost every time. This is the 3rd issue of the run, and almost every time I've been pleasantly surprised with, like, oh, I'm actually kind of enjoying this. Oh yeah, I did kind of like the last issue now I'm thinking about it. Like, I still have this preconceived notion that it's not going to be that good, but then I read it and go, you know what, I'm actually kind of having fun with the characters and like how it's playing. And
I will say it's not as terrible as we were assuming it was going to be beforehand. I definitely don't think that. I don't think it's very good, but it's not bad. It's just really kind of mundane, mediocre for me, at least. But I mean, if you're enjoying it, fair enough. I can definitely see people enjoying this more than I can. Let's put it this way: there are definitely some books that we hate that people love, and I just don't see it at all. Whereas this, I'm like, yeah, sure, I can see people getting enjoyment out of this one.
Well, the big thing is just to take on the characters. It's Wally's voice, but it's also Wally interacting with Barry, interacting with Jay, and it's not even interacting with Jay necessarily technically, but but the way that between the interactions from Wally and the Ray versus Jay and the Ray play out, like in the scenario in general, I think it's it's kind of like, and I know you're not liking, or you didn't like Rorschach enough to keep reading it or even bother trying it. I can't remember if you read issue 1.
I did read the first one.
Yeah, but me and Matt praised the shit out of that last week, and we were saying it's like the best thing they're putting out right now. It is DC's best book right now, and I'm only bringing that up because just for this comparison. This, Rorschach is your prestige HBO show or whatever you want to pick.
If that's your Breaking Bad in this, because I think that's a safe choice for a lot of people.
Sure. This is your network TV romp. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to sit forward the Flash. It's not like a knockout thing by any means, but I think the story is actually flowing fairly well and far more coherent than a lot of what we got after Williamson, or even a lot of what we got in the back half of Williamson's run in a lot of ways. So, but because it's doing the Wally stuff and because it's incorporating more of the Flash family, it almost feels like Williamson's hands were tied a lot. I wonder how much more Williamson wanted to do with those other characters and incorporate them, but he couldn't because of Didio, because of who was in charge, and also because that was also around the same time that they were ruining Wally off in Heroes in Crisis.
I would say definitely probably because he introduced Bart in was that like issue 50, and then 50, he was like I'm down. I've got big stuff for him later, and then nothing.
Which, I mean, and maybe all those plans having to change is why the back half of his run does feel a lot more off than the first half.
Very possible, yeah.
I would suspect.
And while benefit of the doubt on his part, the best writers rise to that challenge and still bring out good stories despite editorial pressures, right?
I mean, true, but I think that is throwing him under the bus by saying, well, he should do better. Because to his credit, everything else he has done since The Flash has all been good. So
I agree, which is why I'm not being too damning on it. And look, he handled it, assuming that any of this is true, he handled it significantly better than Rob Liefeld did this week.
Because his Batman Superman issues were great. Robin so far has been a surprising little gem. There's only been one issue, and one issue in the backup tease, but
it 2 issues worth. But
but it feels a lot more enjoyable and exactly the tone that it should be. When I think that's maybe the biggest worry that New 52 gave me about comics is that they just certain books just won't get what people who like the character want from that character, and so far. Whereas
in Robin, we like seeing Damian being a little shitbag.
Yeah, Damian being in a Mortal Kombat style tournament is the perfect application of that character. But so far, I would say across the board, I'd say most of the mainline DC books right now seem to understand the appeal of their character. So, with that in mind,
almost aggressively so.
With that in mind, what are you rating Flash?
That's like a 5.
I 7. I'm even. You know what? I'm going to 7.5. I had so much fun with the Hitler punching and the various Flash characters interacting with each other and whatnot that I'm going to go there. Admittedly, maybe I shouldn't because of the art changes and some of the art being aggressively mediocre. I wouldn't say outright bad because it's not terrible art. It's not like John Romita Jr. or like whatever.
No, I will agree to that.
Yeah, but just aggressively mediocre. I did like the art in the first chunk though before the art started to change.